Bob Vylan is a name that echoes with urgency, rebellion, and raw truth. In a music landscape where Polish often outweighs purpose, Bob Vylan stands as an uncompromising voice of resistance. The London-based duo, made up of vocalist Bobby Vylan and drummer Bobby Vylan, emerged from the underground with a blend of grime, punk, and hip-hop that doesn't ask for permission. It demands attention. Their story begins not in record label boardrooms or industry showcases, but in the streets and council estates of London, where Bobby Vylan grew up feeling the pressure of being an outsider. A mixed-race kid in a rigid system, he was expelled from school, exposed to violence, and forced to find his own path. That upbringing, marked by poverty, marginalization, and systemic racism, shaped both the man and the music. When he found his voice, he made sure it was loud enough for everyone to hear. The band officially formed in 2017, driven by a desire to tell unfiltered stories and to challenge a society that so often refuses to listen. From the very beginning, Bob Vylan made the choice to remain independent. They self-produced their music, shipped their own merchandise, and even delivered records to stores by hand. Their DIY ethos wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about control. Control over the message, the money, and the mission. Their early work quickly turned heads. In 2020, they released We Live Here, a debut album that was as much a political statement as a musical one. The title alone suggested defiance. This wasn't just a cry for help, it was a declaration of belonging. The songs were confrontational and deeply personal, touching on racism, class, gentrification, and police brutality. Bobby's delivery was fierce, often bordering on spoken-word poetry, while Bobby's percussion gave the music a heartbeat that matched the fury of the lyrics. But while their music was clearly rooted in anger, it was never nihilistic. There was purpose in the rage. Each track felt like a carefully aimed protest sign, painted with lived experience. It didn't take long for critics and fans alike to take notice. As their name grew, so did their impact. Bob Vylan's refusal to compromise their message became a key part of their identity, and it resonated with a generation hungry for authenticity. Their next major release, Bob Vylan Presents the Price of Life, in 2022, was a turning point. The album soared to number 18 on the UK album chart, a remarkable achievement for an independent act. The music was sharper, the production tighter, but the message remained just as urgent. The duo tackled issues like the rising cost of living, inequality, fatherhood, and the emotional toll of being Black in Britain. They didn't just speak about problems. They named names, pointed fingers, and demanded change. Critics hailed the album as one of the most important releases of the year. It won Best Album at the Kerrang! Awards and earned them Best Alternative Music Act at the MOBO Awards, breaking barriers in a space that often sidelines Black punk voices. Still, despite the growing recognition, Bob Vylan never softened their edges. Their success didn't dilute their message, it amplified it. As their fan base expanded, so did the scope of their mission. Bobby Vylan became increasingly vocal about health, veganism, and mental well-being. He often spoke about how the Black community, and activists in general, need to stay mentally and physically strong to continue fighting injustice. His transition to veganism wasn't framed as a trend, but as a necessary extension of his ethics. The band performed at vegan festivals and used their platform to talk about everything from food justice to spiritual growth. By 2024, the duo released Humble as the Sun, an album that, while still fiercely political, introduced more introspection and optimism. Tracks like Dream Big offered hope for underprivileged youth, particularly children of color, who rarely see themselves represented in empowering narratives. Bobby wrote it with his daughter in mind, making the song both a personal promise and a public anthem. That same year, Bob Vylan's presence on the live circuit became even more powerful. Their shows were less like concerts and more like rallies, unfiltered, energetic, and deeply communal. Crowds didn't just watch, they participated. Whether it was screaming protest lyrics or moshing in sweaty pits, fans left feeling transformed. But nothing could have prepared audiences or authorities for what happened in the summer of 2025. Bob Vylan took the stage at the Glastonbury Festival, one of the most prestigious and widely broadcast music events in the UK. It was a moment many independent artists only dream of. Yet instead of playing it safe or appeasing sponsors, Bob Vylan used the opportunity to take a stand. During their set at the West Holt stage, Bobby led chants of Free Palestine and Death to the IDF. It was an explosive political statement, referencing the escalating violence in Gaza and the British government's continued support of Israel. Palestinian flags waved in the crowd, and the chant echoed far beyond the field. The performance, which had been broadcast live by the BBC, instantly became a national controversy. The reaction was swift. The BBC began cutting replays of their set, citing concerns over impartiality. Political figures condemned the act, while supporters praised it as a courageous stand against oppression. Avon and Somerset Police announced a review of the performance, citing possible breaches of hate speech laws. Suddenly, Bob Vylan wasn't just a musical act. They were at the center of a political firestorm. In interviews that followed, Bobby defended the chants. He emphasized that the target was not a people or religion, but a military force accused of war crimes. He called out the complicity of Western governments in the violence and reaffirmed the band's commitment to speaking uncomfortable truths. For Bob Vylan, silence in the face of injustice was never an option. The controversy divided opinion, but it also underscored what has always made Bob Vylan different. They are not entertainers in the traditional sense. They are disruptors. Their work exists at the intersection of art and activism. Whether it's calling out systemic racism, challenging the prison industrial complex, or taking a stand on international human rights, Bob Vylan has never hidden behind ambiguity. Their courage has inspired many and frightened others. But that's the nature of speaking truth in a world built on denial. Through their music, their words, and their actions, Bob Vylan has carved out a space where marginalized voices can be heard, and where protest is not only welcome, but essential. As of now, they continue to tour, to record, and to confront. Each song remains a challenge to the status quo. Each show is an act of resistance. Whether they're shouting from a festival stage or releasing a track from their own bedroom studio, Bob Vylan stays committed to what brought them here: authenticity, justice, and the unshakable belief that music can be a weapon. Their story is still being written, but one thing is already clear. Bob Vylan is not just a band, they are a movement. And movements don't end. They evolve, they grow, and they keep pushing forward no matter who tries to silence them.